43 right now, and every Tuesday morning at this time we spend a little bit of time with our good friend Ron the Car Guy. We try to tell you a little bit something about a car that you might not have know about. So Mr. Ron the Car Guy, what are we talking about today?
Well, contrary to popular belief, it's back to school time. And
not soon enough, Ron.
I got a fair time yet.
I got a little confused because over the weekend I was in it was either Home Goods or At Home. I don't remember which one of those. I was in both, but one of them, they're starting to put the Christmas stuff out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Christmas lights and stuff are coming out, and I'm like, where's the pencils and crayons?
Yeah.
I mean, we've already kind of gone past that. So
shopping's been done. Last weekend was tax-free weekend. It's done. We're ready to go.
Not having children, I can't relate to that. But it is back to school time. I know that, and we're getting close to. Jason's celebrating. That's how I know that.
He'll share.
Yeah, and you know, unlike when I left school, they had a celebration. But anyway, school's right around the corner, and I want to talk a little bit about the closed shopping's going on,
right,
and college registration, and people are moving into dorms and stuff like that. But we don't want to forget about the cars. When we go back to school. And so I kind of broke it down into three different categories of cars to consider what needs to be done when we're going back to school. And the first one, of course, is the parent's car, because somebody has to haul the kids to and from school and pick them up and take them to dance and stuff afterwards. And the schedules get more hectic as we roll into the school season. And so as a parent, I mean, you don't want the car to be down or want the car to not start or have an issue like that. So you want to make sure that the car's looked at prior to going back to school, so you don't have the inconvenience of a breakdown. But the next category I want to talk about is the kid's school car.
Right.
And if you have a parking pass or whatever, and your kids are going to drive to and from school, typically the kid's school car, depending on which school parking lot you go look at, is not a late model, well-maintained vehicle, I guess, so to speak.
It burns oil.
I think back to some of my first cars.
Right.
A good thing I didn't know anything about cars then, or I might not have driven them. But on top of that, because it's an older car and maybe it needs to be looked at a little bit closer. The people driving those cars are less skilled, as we roll into wintertime and stuff, so maybe they can't overcome, if a tie rod end broke or if there's an issue or something with the car, they don't know what to do because they haven't experienced car problems before. So the kid's school car certainly needs to be looked over, and then the one, and this one's, I think, an even bigger consideration is the back to college car. And again, we're similar, it's maybe a leftover or a little bit upgrade from a kid's high school car, but now you're putting your son or daughter into that vehicle, and they're going to drive, an hour, 2 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is, away to college. And that vehicle is going to get out on the road, and it's going to get up to operating temperature. The tires are going to get up to temperature, and they're going to stay at those higher levels of use for a couple of hours driving to college. And it hasn't probably done that all summer. I mean, it's been around town to and from work or whatever they did this last summer.
The mall. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, definitely the mall. Mm-hmm. And so that car really needs to be looked at, because the last thing you want to do is have your child break down along the side of the road.
Because guess who gets to go get them?
Exactly,
yep.
Exactly.
So what do you ask for? Do you come in and say, hey, kids going back to school, is there a multi-point inspection you want to do right now, or do you ask for specific things?
Well, I mean, my shop at Westside Auto Pros, we have a back-to-school inspection that we do on the vehicle.
And what would that cover?
It covers about 45 different items on the vehicle, plus we change the oil. And that's one thing I wanted to stress is I heard a friend of a friend talk a couple weekends ago. Their son was going out of town, was going from Des Moines to Omaha to a concert. And I mean, a high school kid in a high school kid type car, and so to get ready to go to the concert, they took it to a big box store and got the oil changed, because they changed the oil and they looked the car over. But the things that get looked over with an oil change aren't necessarily the things that you want to have looked over, going on a longer trip or going back to school. You think about those college cars. I mean, once they leave the final trip to go to college, you're probably not going to see that car until Thanksgiving.
Right.
Right.
And the weather's going to change quite a bit between now and Thanksgiving. And so it really needs to be looked over more in depth. And the stuff that's looked over with the oil changes is all good, the fluid levels and the air in the tires and stuff like that. But we're not looking at the safety items.
So a lot of other things will be literally looked over.
Absolutely. Brakes, for example. We've all had to put brakes on a car. The brakes were working fine yesterday, and then all of a sudden today, at some point, they start making noise. Brakes aren't looked at when you get your oil changed. Ball joints aren't looked at. Alignment, loose steering and suspension components, all this stuff that can create a problem miles away from home, or even in a high school situation. We joke about every once in a while people like, oh yeah, my significant other didn't hear the noise and kept driving with the brake noise until it ground in and ruined the rotors. Well, kids are the same way. Jackie's fessing up to that. So
I've done that before. My mom got in my car. She's like, "What have you been doing?"
Yeah, and something else too. Maybe these kids are taking the car away to school, and maybe they will be coming back at Thanksgiving time. And you never know how the weather's going to change between now and Thanksgiving. You got to make sure your coolant is up to snuff too.
Exactly. We can and depending where they go to school, they might be headed north of here. And
That's
then
what I mean, yeah.
And tires as well. Tires that are fine to drive on in August might not be good tires in the snow. And so, when you go to the Fast Lube or the Quickie oil change place or the big box oil change place, they're not going to look at brakes because they don't fix brakes.
Do you have
They're not certified and trained to look at that stuff.
Do you have recommendations? Of course, we want people to get checked out before they head off to school, and that's coming up very quickly. But let's say they are traveling. Like I went to Florida when I went to college. How do I know I'm going to a good place that's going to take care of me when I'm away from the state?
Awesome question, and probably one of the greatest ways to do that is whether you're looking online or wherever you're searching for an auto repair place like out of state, look for a place that's AAA approved. AAA doesn't take that lightly. They actually do physical inspections of these locations, and that's a good place to look. Another great resource is ask your mechanic back home. Hey, do you know of anyone? Do you know of any shop? I mean, it's a relatively small world, auto repair shops across the nation, and through trade magazines and stuff. I mean, we all hear of this shop in Florida, this shop in New Jersey, et cetera, and can maybe make a recommendation based off that, or through an association that we belong to. I belong to the ASA Association, and I can go to their website and look up quality shops in other places. So that's an excellent question, Jackie, and go back to your resources. Go to someone you know, love, and trust, and say, hey, can you help me find someone?
And you have the BBB to fall back on.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely,
absolutely. Yeah. That's look for someone that's got an A rating. Absolutely.
All right, sir. Well, if in case you do need to make a pit stop over at Westside Auto Pro to get your vehicle ready for the upcoming school year, what's the easiest way to figure out where you go?
You can get a hold of us at westsideautopros.com.